if we say 5-6,
I think the Titans still go tackle. I know there's a lot of
okay,
hype around them going wide receiver, but I still think they go tackle. To
and
me,
you think it's all
and listen, I think for them it's a left tackle because they need to put somebody there on the left side in place of Andre Dillard and next to Peter Skoronski. So to me, Alt or Fashanu, whichever their flavor is, I would say Alt, goes here with the Titans pick.
All right, I feel like that makes sense. With the Falcons pick, we're going to say they got Kirk Cousins in this scenario, based on the little bit of info that Dom heard of him buying a house in Atlanta. Let's say it's got to be defense, right? Like I would think, unless there's some degree of like wanting to trade out, but let's pencil him in for defense here.
It's defense or
Wide receiver.
Rome Odunze. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, the Falcons are in a unique situation. The only wide receiver under contract after next season is Drake London. Mm-hmm. So whether it's at this pick or whether it's another pick here, it depends what you value more. I think you can make an argument. I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if this is Rome Odunze.
They've got pick 43, I believe. Yeah, they have pick 43. So the top end of the second round, I feel like that's a really good spot to get one of these wide receivers that's going to fall out the back of the draft.
That's fair. So let's go Dallas Turner.
That's exactly where I was going to go. I really loved how he performed, and I think he's someone that can cover running backs and tight ends, out of the backfield. This guy's fast as shit, and with
4'4", 640 with almost 35-inch arms as well. He's gonna move, man. He's gonna move all over the field. He's gonna be used in a Micah Parsons kind of role where he's kind of situated inside and outside. He can go at the passer, and like you said, he can even drop in a soft zone, a flat zone, so on and so forth, and still produce. I think Dallas Turner is probably a name in Jets world that we're not talking about as much because again I think we're so engrossed in tackle and wide receiver that we don't really touch on these high end defensive talents. But Dallas Turner's legit.
He's really good. If we needed an edge rusher, man, it would be nice to like flip flop what we did last year for him and for this year. But we get to the Bears pick. I feel like I've always penciled this in as wide receiver for them. Unless McCarthy hasn't gone, then I pencil him in as like a trade down spot in front of the Jets because I feel like they would be more willing to accept less in a trade down than the Jets at number 10, trying to, obviously the 11, 12, 13, potentially 14, those teams trying to hop the Vikings, who we did have trade up. And I accidentally clicked the wrong button, but they trade up for a quarterback. Patriots take a wide receiver. You think Odunze winds up coming off the board here to the Bears?
I think you can make an argument of two guys. I think in this scenario, I think you can make actually three guys. Two very likely. One would be kind of a little bit of a reach. I think it could be Odunze if they choose to go the wide receiver route. I think it will be Odunze if they choose to go the wide receiver route. But maybe I know that again, preliminary talks of them in Pittsburgh. They were looking to get Deontay Johnson back in the deal, and Pittsburgh's kind of hesitant at it. So if they were to do something, maybe that wide receiver, I think it's either Odunze or it's a guy like Jared Verse, who was a rock solid edge rusher, that they can play opposite Montez Sweat. One of those two makes sense. Again, without knowing what happens in the trade, we made the trade with Pittsburgh, and they did not get the wide receiver. So I would probably say I'd lean Rome Odunze in this situation.
Okay, I like that thought process though. If they can get a Deontay Johnson back in the trade for Justin Fields, then that frees up this number 9 pick a little bit more to go. Maybe on the defensive side. But we'll go with Odunze here. I do like that move. We're sitting here with the Jets. We have 17 options to trade down with us. We have the Chargers sitting behind us. They're either going to go with a Brock Bowers or a tackle. So they're going to take someone that I think Jet fans do probably want. And then you've got the Broncos, who I don't know where they kind of go. They probably go edge rush at that point, maybe with a Jared Verse.
I mean, that in this situation with 4 quarterbacks off the board already, this could be an ideal trade down spot for them as well. Maybe somebody wants to come up, I'm shooting off the hip here, Rye, but there's teams like Buffalo and Kansas City who really are coveting wide receivers. What if one of those guys gave a Godfather deal, come up from the bottom of the first round to 12? Denver can sit back in the bottom, and then that's a comfortable spot to take their Bo Nix or Michael Penix and still get their quarterback plus whatever capital they get back in it.
That's true. And a team that's going to have virtually no cap space the next 2 years because they just cut Russell Wilson, that's going to be a wild ride for them as well. So maybe it makes sense not to trade assets to go up for a quarterback, but to trade down and nab their quarterback at the back end of the first. Now, if there's any team that did not trade up for a quarterback, like let's say the Giants didn't trade up at the beginning part of this, them sitting with 2 second-round picks probably scares a team like Denver if they're sitting at the back end of the first, with the Giants possibly hopping back into the back end. Do we want to make the pick for the Jets at number 10, or do we want to consider a trade down here?
Nah, let's make the pick because we're almost at the hour.
I see what you did. I gotcha. All right.
No, but I would probably the way the board fell, I'd probably stick and pick here. To be honest with you, I don't think you're going to get much further. No one's going to really trade up.
Of value
in that comfort spot for anything of value. So I'd probably stick and pick the best player on the board.
So PFF's best player on the board is Brock Bowers. Is that where you're going? Or you want to go tackle?
No, I wouldn't go Brock Bowers here. I'd go tackle without knowing what happens in free agency. I'd probably still go tackle, but I will defer the pick to you.
Ooh, so interesting because you have Talise Funga, you have Olu Fashanu, and you have J.C. Latham as the top 3 tackles on the board. You have Brock Bowers as well. I think Bowers is going to be in the conversation. I really do. And if it's all going to hinge, I think we get 1 tackle in free agency in some capacity. I don't know who it's going to be, but I think we're going to get 1 tackle. And I think AVT is going to be in the conversation because of how valuable weapons are in free agency and how unlikely it is that they shake free. We saw Mike Evans didn't even hit free agency. He didn't even get the franchise tag. T. Higgins got the franchise tag. Michael Pittman Jr. probably going to get the franchise tag. So if the Jets don't get a Calvin Ridley, I think Brock Bowers could be in the conversation. You have an elite playmaker, an elite game breaker at the wide receiver position, the tight end position, and the running back position in Breece Hall. But without knowing what happens in free agency, I have a really hard time not taking Olu Fashanu here. I would go with the left tackle and just plug and play him for the foreseeable future. Is that where you're kind of thinking as well?
Like I said, I meant it when I told you before. I'd be happy with any of those 3 guys. But if you're trying to fit the left tackle from day one of the 3, I think Olu Fashanu fits that mold. Not to say I think Latham can transition over to the left side. It's just nothing. It's something I wouldn't want to do right from the get-go. He's a guy that you might want to start a year on the right side, maybe even 2 before you move over, a la Tristan Wirfs. Let him cut his teeth in the NFL and then move him over. So Olu Fashanu is going to be our pick here.